Your computer has a virus, click here to remove. Your computer has spyware infections, please click here and we'd be happy to clean it for you. Every time you see one of those, it's a fake. If you click on the OK button or you click on the cancel button, what you're doing, like I mentioned before, that spyware and malware are programs you install. When you click on that OK button or the cancel button or the no, I don't want it button or the yes, I want it button, it doesn't matter what you click on, you're telling your computer to install this piece of software. And that piece of software is the virus, or I'm sorry, is the spyware, or is the malware, or is the Trojan. So again, user education is the most important thing as far as keeping your network secure. And it's more of a training security measure than it is an actual implementable piece of hardware or software. Your people have to know and just understand that if they get a pop-up saying your computer is infected, clean here, or anything like that, 99.99% of the time it is fake. Any kind of pop-up you're going to see is going to say the heading of your antivirus software on there. It's going to say Kaspersky antivirus notice. It has cleaned this thing or found this thing. And your options are always going to be like clean or delete. You're not going to have an OK or cancel. It's not going to ask you to scan. Your antivirus program will never ask you to do a scan. So important to know, and if everybody gets one thing from this, it's just let your users know about these common emails, common pop-ups you're going to see on websites. Don't click on links. Don't click on attachments. Don't click OK or cancel to these. The way you can get around these website things, and this is actually true for any program in Windows, there's just a hotkey you can press on your keyboard to close a program. And that's to close it all the way, close it totally. You don't have to worry about if you click, do I click OK or cancel or the red X in the top right. If you hold the control key on your keyboard and press F4, no matter whatever program you're looking at right now will close. So if you do that when the pop-ups come up, that's the safest way to just get these things out of the way. And of course, if you're getting those, chances are it's because you're going to websites that's triggering them. And that's the bigger thing, of course. Also, any websites that you go to that do prompt, saying you want to install and run this ActiveX control. You only want to do that if it's a website that you know is really safe. And the only websites you really know are safe are business-related websites. They're even once in a while on, big commercial websites that things can sneak on there. You just never know. So the only time you should let your users know that this is okay to do is, say you're on one of the insurance carriers' websites, you're on one of your vendors' websites, things like that. Websites that you know for sure are safe. And if you're not sure, say no, and if what you want doesn't work, then go back and do it again. Data and identity theft and hackers, they're definitely current threats. They're definitely concerns. And the data and identity theft is really a lot of what we've covered already. When you're talking about spyware and malware, yes, they're usually the same thing, but they have different purposes. Malware usually does malicious stuff, like deletes files, like just causes all kind of pop-ups to lock your system up. And the reason why you usually see your system slow down when you have all this malware and spyware and Trojans is because these people write these programs very quickly to do whatever they want them to do, but they don't take in consideration what else is on your computer. It's proven by Microsoft that 88% of crashes that happen in Windows are not because of Windows. They're because of the software you have installed and the software not playing nice with other stuff. And this is especially relevant with malware today. On the other side of things is the spyware. That's kind of taken as the general term. But spyware is the kind of stuff that spies on what you're doing and tries to look at the data you're looking at. Examples of that might be as simply as your contacts. That's one of the simpler things, and that's why you'll get some emails that might look weird, but oh gosh, it came from my brother, or oh, it came from my cousin or my neighbor. Because the spyware at its most basic level looks at contact lists and sends itself out to your contacts. So again, that's why that being really, really careful and overly picky about the emails you open is important. Because spyware is the stuff that'll try to get in there. Now, spyware can also track what websites you've been to, just for the point of marketing and knowing what more spyware to send your way. Spyware is smart enough nowadays to know that if you're going to travel sites, to bring in like travel-looking spyware, so you're more likely to click on it. Yes, hackers are always going to be a threat. Um, it's so easy nowadays for people to get in and do stuff. There's websites and websites out there, and I'm not going to give any examples, that people can just browse to and get these tools to do the hacking for them. Hackers used to be these super ultra smart computer programmers that were doing all kind of manual stuff, and today it's more the kids in their basement that are just let do whatever they want on a computer and are just doing stuff they shouldn't. These people usually prey on, first, anyone on a broadband internet. The examples would be AT&T DSL or Comcast cable. It's proven that they've just got computers sitting out there that are constantly scanning. So if you're on one of those kind of connections, you want the basic protection just like anybody else would be. But just know that you're probably being scanned already, and that's why a good business-related, business-level firewall is important. So here's some stats on what people are doing out there on the internet, um, and this is where most of the bad stuff's coming from. Emails to friends and family. 90% of the time, that's where you get this stuff from. 84% is also from looking at websites, and you say, well, how can we have 90 and 84% be all these? Well, a lot of these things are duplicates because it's the same piece of spyware out there in different places. So it's very apparent that we've got to protect ourselves on the internet. And so how do we do secure web browsing? At its root, we really needed an internet acceptable use policy. If anybody does want to see our acceptable use policy, I'd be happy to send it to you anytime. You can send me an email to request it, and I will reply to you with the one line that our policy is. And our policy simply says business-related use only, period. And you don't have to get any more granular than that, really. And we're not lawyers and we're not E&O people, so you'll want to verify your policies with them or with your management. But quite simply, don't let people do stuff they shouldn't be doing at work. I know everybody's heard of Black Friday. It's the shopping day that happens right after Thanksgiving. Actually, the biggest shopping day of the year is the following Monday, and that's when people are back to work, and it's called Cyber Monday. I didn't see the exact stats, but again, this year there was more money spent and more shopping done on Cyber Monday than there was on Black Friday. And that's because people are back to work but have shopping to do. And guess what? Most of that shopping is done between 9 and 5. So just don't let your people do stuff that they shouldn't. If a lot of people say, well, we can let our people do whatever they want, but only during their lunch period. Well, that means that they're, spending, 1/8 or 1/9 of their time doing activities that could potentially, infect your network. And I know we're talking about the security side of things, but some people do think about it just from the productivity and the dollar spent side too. Because if your people are getting all kind of stuff on the computer that's bogging them down and causing problems, you've got to pay tech support to fix it, and they're not getting as much work done as they should. So an internet acceptable use policy, the baseline that everybody really has to have. And keep it simple. There's less room to argue if you keep it simple too. Secure web browser software, and that goes on both sides. That goes on making sure you have the secure and making sure you're not allowed to do the unsecure. We have the argument all the time of somebody comes up, usually a person that's more techie, says that we want Firefox instead of Internet Explorer. And there are many stats and websites out there that show all the security holes and the time it takes to fix. And Firefox is always much slower. That's not to say that every browser doesn't have its problems. They all do because they're all so widely used. Apple always touts the fact